Yeah, everything looks good except for the Pontificator being a little off, but I'm not too worried about it. Alright, so make sure you guys can see that. Spoiler free! Yeah! We definitely did it spoiler free. I saw the Discord blowing up with spoiler stuff, so I'm guessing I'm gonna have a lot of spoilers to read. Music in this game was pretty good. You hear the tracks a lot, but it's cool that it switches up the battle tracks and stuff like that based on getting into the battles. You're not hearing the same theme again and again and again. But it's not like the OST was overly significant for me. There's, I'd say, a good 5-6 tracks that I really liked, that I enjoyed. The rest of the OST was kind of okay for me. When you rate, do you rate with 10 and subtract, or 0 and add? What? I have no idea what you're talking about. At all, whatsoever. Rate, start with 10 and subtract, or 0 and add. Oh, I don't really do it from there. I don't really, like, just do the minus points and things like that from there. I just kind of... I start everything out about, I guess in my mind, a 5, and then if it starts to like way higher or lower, it's those aspects that weigh higher or lower on it for me. So every game going in, I kind of go in with like met expectations, unless it's a game that I've been looking forward to playing for a really long time. And then it's easier for a game to maybe surprise me with some stuff. And I hopefully don't overlook some aspects, but of course I will, especially when I go through games rather quickly. But anyway, the OST was okay. It wasn't anything special to me. There were definitely some tracks on it that I wouldn't mind listening to again. But overall, it was nothing super amazing or anything like that. Solid for a DS game, though. I'll go ahead and give it a... I'll go ahead and give it a 7 here. OST was definitely one of the stronger points for me. There's the tracks for the particular characters and stuff like that were unique. I definitely liked it. So graphics for the era, I would say that I've seen games that did more graphically. The game doesn't look bad, but it looks very, very minimal in all aspects. To be completely honest with you. It was kind of like a RPG Maker game when it came to the world and stuff like that and how it looked. It didn't really look like a whole lot of effort was put into that, but it's a DS game, so I'm not gonna fault that. But there really wasn't much to the world. The graphics and the stuff like that were more in the combat and how all the characters moved and stuff like that in combat. So they had to make the sprites pretty large in combat. Larger than sprites that you normally see in games, and it gave them a little bit of the unique ability to make them do just about anything and give like more detail and stuff like that, which they wasted most of that detail on boobs and butts, but it allowed them to give them more detail. So the sprites were really cool. The boss sprites and the character sprites were good. The enemy sprites overall were pretty lacking. They didn't do much. You have an enemy that like punches 3 times without moving any other aspect of its body and does like half of your health. It just doesn't hold the same impact as someone that's like busting you up in the air and hitting you 50 times in the air, then hitting you against the wall and then jabbing you and then shooting you with missiles and a laser and all that other type of stuff, and that takes off like, you know, 1/4 of your HP. It's just... It didn't carry the same weight. So the random battles and stuff like that, although they were more fun to get combos and stuff on, the whole lacking animations and stuff like that really took away from me and kind of made me like, you're taking away from this good system and how it looks and stuff like that. So then you have the bosses that have those enemies that don't do a whole lot either. So I'd say that the sprite work and stuff like that definitely gives it a lot of points. They were just really well done, and that was the main appeal of the game in the first place. I could have absolutely done without as much fan service as the game went into, and they put a lot of detail into the sprites for that. But the portraits of the characters and stuff like that, although they didn't show a whole lot of emotion, they looked really good. I'm going to go ahead and give that a 7 as well. If the world was a little bit more interesting, like the end part of the world there, when the world was all connected and exploring it and stuff like that, and how it looked there, it looked good. But the way it was spread out and sectioned off and stuff like that, it seriously feels like the world just feels kind of like an RPG Maker game, a basic RPG Maker game. And there are some pretty good RPG Maker games, but I'd expect a little bit more, or they could have put a little bit more effort into that rather than making me refight my own characters and stuff like that multiple times. I definitely could have done with that. So the story rating of the game. The game doesn't have too much of a story early. It lets on a couple things. It gives you a couple oddball details and stuff like that. You could call it foreshadowing, but the game's kind of obvious with the direction that it's going at all times when you do get any amount of story. The game seems like it's constantly looking for excuses to pit you in fights with people so that I can look at my battle system! My battle system's awesome! You should fight more things and want to fight more things! Isn't it great? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Do you remember our battle system that we have? You know that hour-long fight that you just did? Do you want to do another one of those? You should, because our battle system's so great. That was the story in this game. The story was fight more fights. Ultimately, for no reason. People don't want to tell you what's going on because they don't want to tell you what's going on, and that's like a trope that's used in most games. But most of the time, it's used by one or two characters. You have like one character in the game, one NPC of some kind that just dangles that carrot in front of you constantly, and you're waiting for it. You're just like, okay, when am I finally going to get that information that I need? When am I going to get all of that, the details of what's going on in the world and the game and stuff like that? And you never do until like around the end. But this game, it was just every character knew everything that was going on but wasn't going to tell you what was going on. So like the plot, dialogue, and everything else was just like, I know stuff, but yeah, not gonna tell you. Sorry, you gotta play another 25 hours until you get more details. It's just, I don't know, too slow for my liking. And like the story itself, when it actually got focused and stuff like that, was somewhat interesting. But for me, story has a lot to do with the characters as a whole and how much attachment I have to the characters. And I gotta be honest with you, earlier on in the game, I didn't really have too much attachment to the characters. It was just typical, you know, I don't know, like the whole aspect of how they were just all okay with the worlds being together and stuff like that. That's the thing that I thought they would have been on a little bit more. Like, no one really seemed like they wanted to go home. It's like everyone's like, oh, we need to get home. By the end, it's like, yeah, we gotta go back. It's like they were on an extended vacation and they finally got tired of it and finally wanted to go back by the end. It just, nothing felt like it came together. I didn't feel any real, like, I don't know, there was really nothing that attached me to the characters in the sense of what their ultimate goal was, other than just, we don't want another war. And then the game didn't even focus on that completely. It constantly was like, every character you fight, it's like, well, I'm not trying to start a war, I'm a good guy too. Yeah, it felt forced, but at the same time, it didn't give me any real ambition for the characters or anything like that. Until later on, I felt a little bit more attached to the characters. Once the game started getting slightly more serious, and then they were throwing in the occasional joke rather than like, let's throw boobs and ass in front of you constantly and that's our story and plot lines and stuff like that. If you were really to take all of the dialogue in this game, the entire script, and you were to take out all of the jokes, all of the puns that have nothing to do with the story, you can keep anything that's actually attached to the story and things like that, or if it's actual dialogue between the two characters that's showing growth between the characters, showing them getting to know each other or changing or anything like that, but it's not. They have the exact same dynamic the entire time. They all have the absolute same dynamic towards each other, except for maybe Haken and Kaguya near the end. There was nothing changed. They were the same. It was, I don't know, there was no growth amongst them. And I would have liked them more if there was, which I guess is why I preferred Haken and Kaguya, but that one's a little bit more forced on you, as in, like, they're into each other type of thing. I don't know. I wish that they just let go of the fan service a little bit, you know. If they wanted to run with the puns, if they wanted to run with the jokes and stuff like that, if that had to be a part of the story, at least like implement it in such a way that it's separated a little bit than what's actually going on. I don't need the game to be completely serious at all times. It's okay to have that lighthearted nature and stuff like that, but you can't go full blown humor for absolutely everything and then expect me to take you seriously, or expect me to feel sad for characters and stuff like that that were just talking about how they got goosebumps on their ass and their boobs and stuff like that and showing it off to everybody. I'm sorry, I can't feel in that moment. I can't feel towards them. I can't have the same type of experience as I would towards someone else. So I'd say the story for me was probably one of the weakest parts of the game. And the characters as well, they were just kind of there. I said I like the characters a little bit more at the end. I like when they actually started setting themselves apart with their own worlds and like their own like characters and things like that, and started bringing that into the conversation rather than having that same like, let's just have a humorous personality and I'm gonna say the same type of jokes going forward and the same types of jokes to the same people. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this story a 5. It was nothing terrible. It got a little bit more interesting at the end. The characters grew on me a little bit more at the end, but a few changes here and there, I would have liked some of those aspects more. So the mechanics of the game. So I really like the combat system, especially how it's introduced other than the whole block of text. You get into your first fight, you only have a few characters to use, so you're just kind of juggling between those two characters, and then you kind of start stacking characters on, and it progresses a little bit more and more and more, and you have a little bit more you can do, more characters you can switch in, things like that. Where the game lost me with the combat system and the mechanics and stuff like that was, one, the characters not all being the same level, it not being very direct with when you can switch people in during certain combos and things like that, when you couldn't. For instance, I would try to do my ultra, special, super, whatever attack you want to call it, and sometimes I could do it after a support attack would go off. The support attack would go off, enemy would be in the air or something like that, I could press triangle almost immediately afterwards, and then I would go do the same attack and it would seem I can't. I know I couldn't do it during the attacks, I understood that. But for whatever reason, it was so inconsistent with different people and everything else when you could do those attacks. So I dropped so many combos doing that. Then add to it the fact that they just decided, you like this fun combat system, this really unique combat system that's pretty fast-paced and has like a fighting game mechanic to it. Well, let's instead make bosses so that they've got shields and that everything else is completely different. Everything you've learned, everything you've experienced and stuff like that, let's just take that away. Let's make you completely adapt to every boss fight. And by the way, if you want to adapt to every boss fight, then you almost have to know what's going on at the start of the fight, or you have to go in with some type of strategy or something like that, and still, you're going to fail the first couple attacks on the boss, because you don't know how it's going to fly in the air, you don't know what it's going to do, there's no stats or anything like that that you can see, oh, this is a really heavy unit, so he's probably not going to fly high, or, oh, he's going to guard 90% of my attacks, so he's not going to go as high as well, or for some reason or another, the exact height that this enemy is, hitboxes and stuff like that are going to be all messed up. It's just, those mechanics take so much away from what is fun, the core of the battle system. To me, it didn't add anything to the system other than the way the sprites looked, and it made it more frustrating than anything else. Also, the HP of the bosses was something that was just awful. I really did not like how much and how long the bosses took. And yeah, maybe if I could have landed longer combos and things like that, and maybe I should have started spamming items more off the bat. In fact, I had so many items by the end of the game that I didn't even use that I expected to use, that would have healed my comm, that would have brought my frontier gauge all the way up and stuff like that. It seems like a game that was purely based around that. And I just didn't item spam, and I should have. But the combat itself was really strong. I really enjoyed the combat, but a lot of the stuff dragged it down. The walking around the overworld and stuff like that, like I said, was very typical of just RPG Maker. There wasn't anything really unique going on with it. Even like the breaking of things that were on the map, that was the most unique thing. And that's all it did. That was the only mechanic outside of it. Yeah, spirit spam. Like, being able to spam spirits made it pretty simplistic, along with items as well. But the fact that you had to... The fact that if you really wanted to do damage and you wanted to have a good turn on your character, you almost had to spirit spam at the start so you could break guards, so you could knock it higher, so you could have a longer turn and stuff like that. I just feel like every turn it's like, I'm going to start my turn off spamming spirits, then I'm going to do my attacks. Yeah, the ladder climbing wasn't really anything unique though, and it didn't really add anything to the game. It was just kind of there. It was a way to traverse dungeons. It wasn't like an element in the game that did much other than like, you don't want to take this ladder straight up to get to the chest? Okay, you can take the ladder straight up, go to the right, then get to the chest. It really didn't do a whole lot for me in that perspective. So where I'm going to say that the mechanics and stuff like that really started to drag down for me and become more tedious than anything else, and they made me to the point where I just wanted to skip battles, and then I didn't really want to explore stuff anymore. Because I didn't want to relearn everything. I didn't want to relearn how a character worked, and then he would learn a new attack, and I didn't want to learn how that chained with something else, and then sit there and spend all that time doing all that type of stuff, because that type of stuff doesn't interest me. I like doing stuff as I go. I don't like having to sit and test a whole bunch of stuff and then go from there. So if something works for me, I tend to stick with it. And unless a game forces me to do otherwise. And the only thing that I guess the game kind of forced me to do, it was less forcing, and I just realized that it worked, it was really efficient, was to just constantly spam spirits. That's it. The game tried to force a couple characters into my party, but I basically just let them there as an extra that tossed items and did occasional damage. So I had no interest in trying the other characters, so I had no more attachment to them from what I did to start. But I don't think that the combat is enough to just carry this game. It's not enough to take the game being more mediocre as a whole with everything else. And it's the main appeal of the game, and it doesn't, to me, it doesn't carry it. It's not good enough to carry it. If some of those aspects were fixed and stuff like that, I could really overlook a lot of the flaws that I see in the game, because the combat would be fluid and fun constantly, but it's not fluid and fun constantly. It becomes more of a drag and time-consuming and frustrating thing to mess up combos and stuff like that, but you get punished for it. You don't just mess up a combo, you get punished for not inputting something perfectly, or a hitbox not working perfectly in your favor, or RNG not going in your favor. You just get punished constantly, especially during bosses. So as much as I'd like to give it more points for the battle system as a whole, I think the battle system carried the mechanics. And I'm going to give it a 5. And that 5 is purely on the battle system and the aspects that I liked about it. Like I said, I really feel like the music and stuff like that were the appeal in this game for me. And if the combat changed a little bit here and there, I would have liked it a lot more. So the grinding. I didn't really grind in the game at all. But that being said, I've said that anytime something's incredibly time-consuming in the game as well, I'm going to say that it is grind-heavy. The bosses are grind-heavy. You have to spend lots of time on bosses, unless you grind a lot before that. They just take too long. Even with buffing your characters and giving them as much damage and stuff like that as you can, whether it's with items, spirits, and things like that, you take forever to kill these bosses. If I could have, like I said, if I could have landed better combos, if figuring out the bosses was a little bit quicker without getting completely crushed and punished for any type of mistake, and I could have built higher combos as a whole, the bosses might not have taken as long. But the crazy thing about it is the bosses at the end of the game were so much easier. I had so much SP and stuff like that, I could just spam whatever the heck I wanted. I just tossed items at my characters and did my highest attacks and stuff like that. The earlier part of the game was so much more of a struggle and took so much longer. It was frustrating, so frustrating to see like that curve of the game be so dramatically in your favor towards the end and so not in your favor earlier on in the game. And again, that goes, I guess, kind of towards the mechanics as a whole. The scaling was just all over the place and not really good. So since there was no actual grinding in the game, since I didn't have to level grind or anything like that, it definitely gets props there. But the time-consuming battles and things like that kind of push it over the edge for me and lower it. But I can't lower it that much. So I'm going to go ahead and give the grinding rating an 8, which is pretty good. Considering in Digimon World 2 we got a 1. So overall for me, I guess I kind of expressed, this game was kind of mediocre as a whole. The combat system at first really pushed it over the top for me, where I was really interested in it, and there was a lot of different stuff that I wanted to try. And then as I got to the first couple bosses, that teetered down, and I was less and less interested and less invested in the combat system. I did not look forward to bosses, which is normally the main appeal to me. I like strategizing against bosses, I like thinking outside the box, but this was just more mechanically. But it felt like it was mechanically something that I wasn't completely in control of without spending a lot of time trying to figure out how to be mechanically in control of it. So it started to lose points from the beginning on, and then the entire lewd nature of it and things like that kind of, it was over the top for me. It was just a bit too much. There was a couple points that just made me a little bit uncomfortable. Like, I couldn't even find, some of the jokes were funny, and then it just kept going, and going, and going, and I don't know, after a while I would have just like a slight pause from it, and then it could have brought it back later, but they didn't, and I guess that just doesn't appeal to me. It's not part of my nature. Lewd things, sexual things and stuff like that, I've always felt that there's a time and a place for them. I don't tend to look for games that have them in it. Not that I'm going to say I'm going to avoid games that might have that type of stuff in it, but it's not what I look for. I could do without it as a whole, so if I can do without it, I don't need it in every single inch of my game. But that's what this game was created for, at least partially created for. Some of the aspects were a little bit funny. I definitely learned some different words for boobs that I never knew about before, if that's appealing to you. The puns, I've always liked awful puns and stuff like that. But overall, I guess I've experienced that lewd games as an experience for me. It's going to be hit or miss. It can't do too much one way or the other. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and give the game a 6. It was definitely above average in the combat department. I feel like they could have made it a little bit better in some aspects, and I would have enjoyed the combat even more. Maybe they've made better aspects and stuff like that in the future games, or in some of the other games that use the same combat system. If the combat was better, it would probably be closer to a 7 for me. If the boss fights and stuff like that did not take nearly as long. Yes, the coma theme. But the music and the graphics and stuff like that, especially the sprites, I have to give it credit there. It was unique. It wasn't something I ever saw before, even though it was kind of like chibi form of characters and stuff like that. I felt like a game can get credit for its artistic design and stuff like that, and the fact that I didn't have to grind. And that I really was looking forward to the combat system until I got to the bosses. I really could appreciate it up until that point, and then it started to get just tedious for me. So I like the idea of the combat system. I really do. I just want it slightly better executed, and the game didn't overstay its welcome. 25 hours, 32 minutes, 27 seconds. That's not too bad. If it would have been a 50-hour game, I definitely would have been giving this game a lower rating. Zapdos and I had a conversation about when a game can like overstay its welcome and how some people don't want a game to end, and sometimes a game needs to end regardless. This game had okay pacing in that regard. It was not too long. It did not overstay its welcome, even though it threw a lot of stuff at you that I feel could have been cut, like fighting your duplicates. The concept of it existing once is fine, twice, okay. After that, it just became, we need filler bosses, and we don't want to use the exact same one that we just did, so yeah, I mean, it definitely could have gotten a higher rating for me if there was a lot of stuff that they didn't do towards the end of the game there, because I was kind of faltering between how the increase and stuff like that with your combat and everything else was dynamically changed by the end of the game, and bosses became relatively easier and less time-consuming. And you had cooler attacks, and it was easier to combo because you were stronger and things like that. Needless to say, if you want to have a really good time with the combat system in this game, grind a crap ton at first, So you have the higher level abilities and stuff like that, and then go to town on the bosses and have fun with it. And try to get the highest combos and stuff like that you can. Because it'll be a lot easier if you do. Yeah, they gave a reason that they existed, but I don't know. There was really no reason for them to exist. The story could have carried on without them existing. They ultimately did nothing. Even the whole trying to send the person there to get the tree and stuff like that, the one of Kaguya, that did nothing. It got there, it did nothing. It got stopped. It did absolutely nothing, and then you had to fight it. None of them did anything for the story. They did not carry the plot at all. They just existed. They were there. Anyway, let me do the math here. Let me see what you guys rated the game overall. And thank you for taking the time to vote. I really appreciate it. I always like to see what you guys think as well. Alright, looks like you guys gave it a 7.2 altogether. So we're going to round that down to a 7. And let's see here. Let me put my... not likely. There's plenty of games that are like that, I'm sure. Today is 3/28/2018. Oops. What am I doing? I'm typing it like I'm at work. And it took us 25 hours, 32 minutes, and 27 seconds. Alright. So, you guys know what time it is now. It is Raffle time. For those of you that are potentially new here that came to watch Super Robot Wars, it's Raffle time. All you have to do is type in the word Raffle. It gives you a chance to win and pick the next game that I play. And so every game gets picked for the tour. Everyone has an equal chance of winning. You just gotta type in the word Raffle. Some of the final boss themes and stuff like that too, I'll be honest with you, are what pushed up the music rating for me. I liked some of those themes a lot. How it takes the actual theme from the game and goes from there and pushes on it. I love when games, TV shows, it doesn't matter what it is. Whenever people take music and they do renditions of the same music and put it in other aspects and other songs and stuff like that, change the pacing and the tone and everything else of it. I'll always love that, and I'm always a sucker for that, so... But yeah, again, if you're new to the stream, I highly recommend typing in the word Raffle. It gives you the chance to win and pick the next game that I play. If you're not familiar with the list, you can go ahead and take a look at the list here. There's plenty of games on there, plenty of stuff to choose from. If you're an RPG fan, I'm sure there's a game that you've played or would enjoy on there that you might like see me play. The next game, as you can see, is going to be Saga, Episode 1. I'm not going to say that because Ned Curry would make fun of me. Yeah, I guess I know that theme from Saga too, so I like that theme. So I kind of took it from that game, but it's a DS version, you know, it's okay. For the DS, it sounded pretty good. I'll give you guys about another 30 seconds or so here, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, it's really not a bad game. It's niche in in a few ways. There's a few people that aren't going to like aspects of it here or there, and there's a few people that are going to love aspects about it here or there. So it's not a game for everyone, but it is a game that will definitely appeal to some people and not others. It's not the type of game for me that I could just like recommend to everybody, because I don't feel like there's aspects some people are going to be okay with, especially the lewd nature of the game. I know specifically some people in mind that it's a game that I could not recommend to them because they wouldn't have it. In fact, they would almost find it disgusting in some aspects. So it's definitely not for everyone. Combat system is definitely an appeal, and I could think of some people, especially people that like fighting games, if they were looking to get into an RPG or something like that, they might enjoy something like that, especially if you could do combos, like actually input combos to do the attacks instead of just pressing a button. It could really appeal to a bunch of people in that regard. But that being said, it's been a while. Now I feel like we're listening to the same songs. But anyway, that being said, thanks for sticking around, guys. Good luck, everyone. Three, two, one. Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm starting to think that, like, this thing, like, goes for ease first or something like that. Well, Eltanen, congratulations. I think that officially makes you the person that's won the most. Let's see. How many have you won? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think you've officially won the most now. Yeah, Eltanen's not Nakurti's ult. For those of you that think that that's actually the case. Let's see here. Eltanen won. But yeah, go ahead and take a look at the list, Eltanen. I'm getting used to seeing that picture at this point. Jeez, Eltanen, it says you've been following me for 3 years, man. Or nearly 3 years. Holy shit. I guess I can get this part ready a while. 48. Yep, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, does it? Eltanen Z. I should be used to typing your name at this point. Time does fly. Pick something that lasts an hour? I don't think there's any games like that on the list. I question it. I don't know. Every time I see the same person win instead of someone new, I'll just keep saying it. Eltanen, go play the freaking lottery, man. You, Nakurti, and Deformed, you all need to just go play the lottery or something like that. I'm serious. You guys would probably win. I won 1 raffle in anything, ever. And it was a raffle in Kolthor stream that 2 people entered. 2 people! I won it 50-50, guys! Yeah, we do have a 15-minute time limit for making your picks, but I don't think we have to wait for 15 minutes. Yeah, I won a 50-50 shot. Yeah, Tyr, you've gotten pretty lucky too. I definitely want to see everybody win at one point or another. I just want to see what everybody picks and stuff like that. It's very interesting. It is funny to see some of the same people win, but at some point in time, I'm sure everyone will win at least once. I've never won since then, Jago. Yeah, it would be pretty heartbreaking to lose in a 50-50. To be fair, the other person that entered was someone completely new to the stream, so I had a little bit more invested at that point. It'll be interesting if Nightbot ever wins. I don't even think I entered Nightbot into this one. No, he was there. That's right, I did the raffle time thing, so he enters. How are we doing, Altanin? Any thoughts? Any games you're deciding between or anything like that? Alright, 2 games. Okay. Fidel Infidel, thank you for those 5 bits, man. Only one way to find out. Boom Cannon, you really want me to play that? One of the games is a troll game. Well, we've got plenty of troll games on the list. Alright, Zapdos. Sleep well, dude. Yeah, Altanin, you'll win the next one too, so it shouldn't be too difficult. There's already been a lot of games that people haven't heard of. I've never actually played any of the Ogre Battle games. Oh man, you just made Rio one of the happiest people in existence, Altanin. When he sees this, I think you might make him cry. Alright, what's it called? The Legend of Heroes. Sky, second chapter. Oh man, there's been a lot of you that have been excited for me to play through this one. Interesting pick. No! Don't look at that! Don't look at that. That doesn't exist. I haven't looked at it in a long time. Oh god, get it off of here. Get it off of here. That's one of the most creepy things I've ever seen. Ever. But anyway, guys, thanks for sticking around. We're gonna try... wait, first time played. Yes, it is absolutely my first time played. We are going to do what we always do here at the end of a game. We are gonna raid somebody. We're gonna try and make their day. We are going to hopefully surprise them with something. So, what do we want to surprise them with, though? We have to do something that was attached to this game, something from this game. Let me see, first of all, who I'm gonna host here. But you guys decide on a phrase from this game that we want to pass over to them and spam. No, we're not spamming boobs, guys! We're not spamming boobs in someone other person's chat. You don't do that. Coconut smuggler? That's the same thing as saying boobs! Wasn't it watermelon smuggler or something like that? 999% loot factor. Alright, let's just go with Juggles for Days. That gets your guys' innuendo in there. And, also kind of gets something from this game. The combat system and things like that. You can spam any type of emotes you want with it and stuff like that as well. But I'm gonna host, or rather raid, Kolthor the Barbarian. I've sent you guys over there a few times. He's currently doing The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, and he might be doing some of his Gaben Gauntlet later, which is him playing through his entire Steam game list. Keep in mind, you can gift him games and put them on that list. He does the exact same system as me. If you win the raffle, you get to pick the next game that he plays. I think right now he's playing Beyond Good and Evil. Really, really solid guy. Honestly, great stream. He's also a Rip Runner, if you're familiar with those. So yeah, stop by, say hi, show him some love, show him some support. But let's spam him with some Juggles, guys. What do you say? Let's show him those naughty bits with our words. That sounded really awkward. Don't do that. But anyway, yeah. Do the thing. Spam it, guys. Ignore what I just said. Just spam. Thanks again, everybody. I really hope you guys had a great night. I hope you're looking forward to the next game. I hope to see you tomorrow. Either way, have a great rest of your night.